Hello, welcome to Lesson 10 of 2015 Classroom in a Book. And if you notice, we're getting through this book, and let's take a moment to reflect on all the different things we've learned. We know about type, how to create shapes, modify shapes, clipping masks, different ways to apply color, playing around with the pen tool, and there's just so much. And although we're building upon these things, you should still kind of stop and try to have practice with things that you found difficulty with. Create your own exercises. Remember that there's that extra credit, but play around with the pen tool. I know a lot of you guys expressed a lot of difficulty with it, and it's not going to get easier much quicker. You have to play around with it. So so keep a moment thinking about that. So we're working with gradients, blends, and patterns, and your lesson is a lot more advanced than the 2013 textbook. And we'll talk about a few things. So I have my end file open, and we're going to create this with different patterns, textures, blends to get this nice look going on. And this is our start file. So kind of have a huge jump. So what we're going to do is rename this file to sailing.ai. Huge jump going on. All right, so let's get started. So where we're going to work is gradients, and gradient is one color filling into the next color in a nice flow. There's gradient fills in a blend of two or more colors. They can be linear, radial, etc. So you can pull up the panel window gradient, or it's a little gradient dude right there. And a good way to open it up. So over here you have your gradient, what it's kind of like a preview. Your fill and stroke color based on what's in your toolbar. The reverse gradient, so if you want to reverse it, that's where you go. Without looking at the picture, there's D, which is the gradient midpoint where it mits. So the gradient midpoint for here would be right here where it's middle gray. Exactly 50% of one color and the next. Remember from our color lecture? E is our gradient slider. So these little guys. Colors stops. G is the opacity, how opaque, how fill it is or transparent. H is location. We'll talk more, we'll get that in practice. It's hard to describe it without doing it in practice. We have radial or linear. Stroke, so if you're doing a stroke, how it works within there, and we'll kind of use the stroke to make like a little frame. The angle of the gradient, aspect ratio, and we can delete stops. So we're going to apply a gradient to a fill. So with our selection tool, we're going to select this big yellow box, and it's got yellow fill and no stroke. So we're going to change the fill color to the gradient swatch black white. So we're going to pop open this, and it's right here, and I'll cover white black. And we have a fill going on. And how do we edit this gradient? How do we play around with it? So with this panel open or still open, or if you closed it, open it back up, we're going to change these colors. So in our color stop, this white, we're going to double click, and you can do color, or you can do swatches, and we want to name this swatch to Sky 1. And I'll hover over, and it's a white, but it's not as white. And then we're going to press the escape key, or anywhere blinker to kind of get rid of that. And we're going to double click the black stop, and we're going to choose color because we have a very specific color. So we're going to do this drop down box, make sure it's CMYK, and we want the values to be cyan 40, magenta 4, 10 yellow, and 10 black. So very specific. And now we have a nice gradient kind of going on so far. We have a brand new gradient. So let's save this gradient because we may need to pull it up or something may happen to it. And we're going to save it just like we do a swatch. So the gradient menu arrow right here, we're going to pull this open and there's a bunch of different gradients saved. We're going to do this, add to swatches, and it should just add to swatches. So if we look at our swatches here, it's right there, and we can double click it and rename it, and let's just name it sky. Because the sky, and working with gradients, you want to play around with them to get that nice realisticness to it. It pushes objects from being very flat into a nice softness to it. You know, painters, they use gradients. So we named it to sky, and if you look at our swatches panel, you can do only color, only gradient swatches, pattern, show color groups, or show all swatches, and that's a good way to kind of find very specific ones you want. So let's just do a Command S to save what we've done so far. So now we're going to adjust this swatch because right now it's just left to right and we want it to have a different flow. So we want the light part to be at the bottom and it radiates out. So we're going to select the gradient tool from the gradient panel, and you notice we have this bar left to right. And if we position our pointer over it, it kind of shows the gradient annotator. We can move things around to make adjustments there. Just do a Command Z, undo that. So what we're going to do is we're going to shift click the top of the artboard and drag down. Remember, we hold down shift, it's going to constrain to 45 degrees. So we're going down, so the light part is up top. And with the gradient tool, we're going to shift click below the bottom of the artboard and drag up. So here, and we're going to just drag out. So white should be at the top. Hold on. We're going to shift click the bottom of the artboard, drag up to the top of the artboard to change the position, the direction, the starting and ending color to the gradient. So yeah, white should be at the bottom. Yeah. We're going to hover over here to have this annotator, so we're going to hold down to find it. Right there, and we can tilt it around. And this is that rotation, so we notice that this number has changed right here. And you know what, we're just going to type in 80 to be exact. And what we're going to do is we're going to lock this selection so we don't actually change it. So we're just going to select, or actually object lock selection. We're going to do a Command S, and that'll be it for the first video. The next video we're going to do applying linear gradients to strokes, and we're going to work on that border.